What's up guys and welcome to FPL Today. I'm the man in the know, J&O, and welcome to the Blank and Double Game Week series here on the FPL Today channel, where we look over the blanks and double game weeks coming up in the Fantasy Premier League 2018-2019 season and try and get you as prepared as possible for this tough period of fixtures. This episode is about strategies depending on the chips and the wildcards that you may or may not have left. So stay tuned in this video for whatever scenario you're currently in, and I'll give you the best strategy I believe is possible for you in the Fantasy Premier League. But also thank you so much for the support on the previous Blank and Double Game Weeks episode, where we have absolutely smashed views and probably got the most likes on any one of my videos ever. That one is currently on 258 likes. So if we can get this video over 250 likes as well, that would be absolutely amazing. So let's get on to the video, and first off, I just want to clear something up because blanks and double game weeks seem to be something that not everyone that is new to the game fully understands. I remember a period in the early season where people thought a Tuesday and Wednesday fixture actually meant there was a double game week for teams. And the fact of the matter is, every fixture at the beginning of the season is put into one of 38 game weeks. Now, a game week could be Tuesday and Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but every single fixture is put into a game week. A blank game week is a game week when a game is postponed due to clashing with fixtures from a cup competition, or potentially postponed because of weather conditions or some other issue that means that fixture cannot be played in the game week it was originally designated. Now, that postponed fixture has to be put somewhere else in the fixture list for the season, and that is when a double game week happens. It's when a postponed fixture is rescheduled, it will be included into another game week, and then that team and their opposition that had the postponed fixture because of a cup competition or weather conditions will have what's called a double game week. Now, this usually happens tail end of the season, but it can happen anywhere as early as around game week 20. And depending on weather conditions, it can happen earlier, but usually they're most prevalent in the end of the season from around game week 27, which is a blank usually because of the Carabao Cup, onto the game weeks 30 and onwards, where a lot of fixtures are rescheduled because of the FA Cup, because of Champions League, and because of other reasons. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what a blank and double game week is. Let's now get into the strategies that you can use depending on what chip and if you have your wildcard left. So for me, we won't really cover triple captain, and we won't really cover bench boost to any massive degree. But bench boost, of course, works best if as many of your players as possible are playing 2 game weeks. If you can get 15 players, in theory, playing 2 game weeks, and you use the bench boost, that's 30 opportunities for your team to score points. That is more than the 11 that your team usually gets. And triple captain, of course, if you put that on someone that is playing twice in a game week, you're giving yourself twice the opportunity for that player to score big. Potentially, if they score big in both games, you could get a massive point haul in that game week. Now, that's pretty self-explanatory, but to actually navigate the blanks and double game weeks, you want to be using your free hit and your wild card. Those are the two that really can affect how much you utilise your squad going into blanks and double game weeks. So the optimal strategy would be to have both, which fortunately I do, and there's 2 strategies I can see for using the free hit and the wild card going into the blanks and double game weeks. Now, we potentially have a double game week 25. This will be a very small double game week where the 2 teams that have got to the Carabao Cup final, most likely Man City and then either Tottenham or Chelsea, may have their game moved to game week 25, which should have been in game week 27, which is when they will blank because of the Carabao Cup final. Now, because this is such a small double game week with only 4 teams potentially playing twice, and it may not even happen, of course, you should be able to plan for this double game week quite easily with just the transfers that you have normally in the game. And if you do have players that could have this double game week, I would keep them for now because it will be quite easy to transfer them out towards blank game week 31. And you can quite easily bench them in blank game week 27 unless you have a ridiculous amount of Man City and either Chelsea or Tottenham players. So with so much time before blank game week 31, I truly believe you can get a decent side going into blank game week 31 with just the transfers you have leading up to that period. Yes, you might fancy taking a -4 here or there if you think it will benefit your points that game week, but you shouldn't need to take a -4 to get your team ready for game week 31. But this is when it now gets tricky, because this season we've got blank game week 31, double game week 32, blank game week 33, game week 34 is a normal game week, and then double game week 35. So there isn't much space between all of these blanks and doubles. So my strategy would be to focus on the blank game week 31 and also blank game week 33, and then use the free hit in double game week 32, so you can utilise the best possible team for that double game week, which should be quite a large double game week with a lot of teams playing twice. And then using your wildcard in game week 34 means you can pick a team that is optimal for not only double game week 35, but till the end of the season to game week 38. There may also be a double game week around this period, maybe 37, maybe somewhere else. So you can also, by that time in game week 34, have a good idea what that is and fully focus your side for those final game weeks of the season. So just to reiterate, my plan, and this is the one I am most likely going to use, would be to plan all my transfers to maximise my points in double game week 25, blank game week 27, and blank game week 31. Then use the free hit in double game week 32, with transfers earlier than this free hit also being used to optimise my team for blank game week 33. Then use the wildcard in game week 34, as you can't use wildcard and chips in the same game week, to utilise my team for game week 34 onwards, including that double game week 35. Now this is the one I prefer the most. I feel like this is the one that should get you the most points if you make the right decisions with the right players. But there is another way you could approach this if you have your free hit and your wildcard. Now this one I've called the game week 33 plan, where it's very similar at the beginning with double game week 25, blank game week 27, and blank game week 31. You focus your transfers on optimising your teams for those fixtures. But then in double game week 32, you use your wildcard, focusing in on double game week 32 and 35 players. You then use the free hit in blank game week 33, which means you can pick a side specifically for blank game week 33. Then in game week 34, you use the transfers you have or potentially hold your transfer to improve the double game week 35 side from the wildcard team you picked in double game week 32. Now, to be honest, this could work just as well. But for me, the reason I prefer the other option is you're using your free hit and your wildcard solely focused on those double game weeks, which could reap in great benefits. Whereas here, your free hit is used on a blank game week, which potentially isn't going to be that beneficial to you, because some teams won't have full teams of 11, but you might not be able to get that many more points than other people in that period. Whereas I think if you get a double game week right, we have seen scores reaching 150 points in a game week when it's been a double game week and higher. So potentially that is where you can get a lot of points in just one game week. So my free hit and my wildcard will be used solely to get the most amount of points possible in that double game week 32 and 35. But of course, I wanted to cover all avenues. You can make your own decision. I personally prefer the first choice, but both choices should see you nicely through the double game weeks and the blanks. So what if you have no wildcard and you do have the free hit chip? To be honest, you are not completely out of the game because of that. I have used my wildcard before. 3 years ago, I believe I used my wildcard in January, and it still saw me get a decent rank because at the time my team wasn't doing well enough for what I had and I needed to start climbing ranks immediately. So I used my wildcard and it did work. Just takes a little bit more planning, maybe a little bit more strictness and discipline, but the strategy I've come up with for no wildcard. So if there's a double game week 25, you use your transfers to prepare, including players who will blank in game week 31. You also use your transfers to prepare for blank game week 27, but you include players who blank in game week 31. In blank game week 31, you then use your free hit as your team has now been focused with transfers on double game week 32 and 35 because you've been picking players at blank, which means their fixtures will be rescheduled into double game weeks. In double game week 32, you use your transfer to maximise your double game week 32 team and your blank game week 33 team. Potentially you could use your bench boost in this position if you still have it. Then in blank game week 33, smaller blank game week than 31, so it's easier to cover than game week 31, which is why you use your free hit in blank game week 31. Then in game week 34, transfers to build your double game week 35 side, and then transfers in double game week 35 to maximise your game week 35 team. Bench boost is also a potential use in this double game week. So hopefully that makes sense. It is all on the screen. Feel free to pause and read through that. And if you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments down below and I'll try to explain a bit more. But I believe that is pretty clear and hopefully that helps anyone out that does not have their wildcard left. But what if you have no free hit and you do have your wildcard? So again, I would use transfers to prepare for Double Game Week 25, Blank Game Week 27 and Blank Game Week 31. I would then use my wildcard in Game Week 32, focusing on players who double and have a Blank Game Week 33 fixture. So they have the double in Game Week 32 and have one fixture in Game Week 33. I would then hold your transfer in Blank Game Week 33 and then from 34 onwards use your transfers towards Double Game Week 35 players with doubles in that game week. And then in Game Week 35 you could potentially use more than just the transfers you have towards that Double Game Week 35. Bench boost could be used here, especially as you use your wildcard in Double Game Week 32, which means you can't use your bench boost in that game week. But of course there is an even worse scenario. What if you don't have either of your free hit or your wild card? What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go with a balancing act. It's going to be a lot more difficult than it is for anyone that has any of those chips or the wild card left. What I would do is prioritize players you think can score big no matter what. So potentially you can have a player like Salah who in a double game week could still score big because of their opposition. What will also be the case is a lot of people won't have this player. So if they do somehow manage to score maybe a hat-trick in their one game, and then other people pick players that score one goal in each game they're in, you're actually going to get more points still. So it is still possible to have a decent week in a double game week without all the double game week players. You're just not spreading your bets as much. There will also be players that play in Blank Game Week 33 but also have double game weeks, so you could potentially focus on them as then you're kind of covering as much ground as possible without having the use of free hits and wildcards. What I would also say is do not be afraid to take a hit for a player that blanks in a blank game week, and that doesn't just include players that blank, it also includes players that could be injured in double game weeks, because you have to consider that they will only be getting 0 points. If they're not playing, they can only get 0. Because if you look at it, you're taking a -4 to bring in someone for someone who isn't playing. Then your player, if they play 60 minutes, will get 1 point. That's down to a -3. Your player appearing in one fixture over 60 minutes gets 2 points. That transfer is now down to a -2. So all they need is any sort of return and you have made plus points overall. So a goal, an assist, a clean sheet, bonus points. Could see him over that -4 and then you are into positive points for that transfer. And if a player is appearing in 2 fixtures, they're guaranteed to get 2 to 4 points, assuming there's no negative point hits for yellow card, red card or anything like that, goals conceded. So if they're in 2 fixtures and the player you've got isn't going to play in that game week, don't be afraid to take the minus hit in that transfer. I think this season especially it's been proven some of the players really high in ranking have been taking minus hits when they think they will end up in the positive for points compared to the amount of hits they've taken. So guys, hopefully all of that has helped you plan for your blanks and double game weeks. We will continue this series with more information after the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup fixtures, where we go into more details as we'll be able to see which teams could double, which teams will not play in the blank game weeks and all of that good stuff. So the series will continue. Your support on it has been absolutely amazing. If you are happy that this series is continuing, please hit that like button again. If we get anywhere near what the first video on blanks and double game weeks gets, that would be absolutely awesome. If you are new to the channel as well, we're getting an influx of subscribers now because of this series. So welcome to the channel first of all. Hit that notification bell if you want to be told when my videos go live. And feel free to check out all the links in the description down below, including my Patreon, where there is exclusive Patreon content as well, where Patreons get to ask me questions and I'll try to do a quick video answering their question while I'm recording videos like this. So with all that being said, I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.